It's Christmas Eve here at Locked On Stars, and today I'll be joined by a very special guest, former host of the Locked On Stars podcast, Josh Clark, to talk all about the Dallas Stars up to the season, get his thoughts and opinions on the team, and then to close things out, we'll talk about some Christmas-themed things. All of this coming up on a special Christmas Eve edition of Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to the Locked On Stars podcast, the only daily podcast covering the Dallas Stars. I'm your host, Dane Lewis, and you are locked on the Dallas Stars here on this Friday, December 24th. It's Christmas Eve. Tomorrow is Christmas. I know for many of you, one of the most exciting days of the year, myself as well. Just a wonderful time of the year. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. The holidays are here, and finding the perfect gift can be tricky. Omaha Steaks makes it easy to send friends and family an unforgettable gift guaranteed to be loved. Go to omahasteaks.com and enter NHL into the search bar to order the perfect gift package. Well, as I mentioned to open the show today, I'm joined by Josh Clark, former host of the Locked On Stars podcast, now working as one of the graphics coordinators for the broadcast for the Dallas Stars on Bally Sports Southwest. But before we get into my conversation with Josh, do you want to take a moment and say thank you for stopping by today's episode of Locked On Stars, whether this is your first time here or you are a recurring listener. Thank you for making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day here, even in the holiday season on Christmas Eve. Thank you guys for the continued support throughout this year. I truly do appreciate it. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Locked On Stars podcast wherever you get your podcast out, whether that's on YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform. But without any further hesitation, let's get into today's fun conversation between myself and former host of Locked On Stars, Josh Clark. Welcome in, everyone. Dane Lewis here, joined by former host of the Locked On Stars podcast, Josh Clark, here on Christmas Eve, December 24th. Josh, how are you today?
Oh, Dane, I could not be better because one, getting a little break from the hustle and bustle of the regular season schedule is really nice. And two, to have it at Christmas time, I am a bit of a fanatic, a little bit, and my friends would say a little bit is putting it way too softly, but this is definitely an exciting time. I love this time of year, getting to go home, see family, enjoy kind of just taking a breather and getting ready to, get back into the swing of things after Christmas. But for now, just having a good time, enjoying what's been a crazy last 40 or so days for the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, certainly a very crazy roller coaster type season so far for the Stars, especially now with the scheduling. And I know that's the case for the entire NHL, but just kind of wanted to bring you back on the show. And I know, you said you're always down to talk Dallas Stars hockey, and this is a great place to do that. And I know that, the fans here appreciate your insight. And so I just kind of want to pick your brain a little bit on how the Stars have done this season. And what are kind of just, in your words, in your mind, what has been your overall thoughts on this team so far this season, and how have they kind of compared to maybe, past teams that the Dallas Stars have put out the past few years in your mind?
I would say that that second question about comparing to teams of past, this is probably and I don't really know if it's a bad thing or a good thing yet. This is probably the streakiest team that we have seen. Obviously, everybody, when you think about streaks, you think about 2019-20, where you start, 1-7-1, then you rally and you're on a 13-1-1 run, and then you end the year with a 5-game losing streak, or however long that losing streak was. It feels like it was 8 seasons ago at this point. But, you think about that as streaks, but then you think about this team. I mean, we ran a graphic the other night that the Stars are the only team in the NHL this season to have won 7 in a row and lost 5 in a row. And the fact that that's all happened in the last 40 days. And then on top of that, you finish the season with a kind of a scattery, messy 4-3 overtime win against Chicago. And then you just go and score 7 on arguably the league's best team to go into the Christmas break. this team is just such a, such a wild card team, which is kind of funny because, they're right now in the thick of the wild card and off season left to be played, but they are such a wild card team. And the fact that you never know who you're getting and what kind of team you're going to get on any given night and against any given opponent. They can, lose twice to the Senators, who have only won, 9 or 10 games this season anyways. And then you can go to beat Carolina, beat Colorado, beat Edmonton, all these different like powerhouses. And it's just like, what are we getting tonight? And so I guess as a sports fan, that's kind of exciting though, because it's like, I don't really know what I'm getting tonight, but it should be, it makes you want to tune in because you're like, we could get a really good game here, or we could get a, not so great game. But so far, it's been like, they are a streaky team. And I think we all know that right now. But at the same time, I've been kind of holding this mantra for the last few months. And I tell people, when they actually like get together as a full team, 18 skaters, and say, we're going to win this game. We want to win this game. We're going to do everything we can to win this game. And everybody is clicking and everybody is giving that 100% effort. There are very few, if any, teams in the NHL that can stop them right now, as we saw against Minnesota and Carolina and Colorado. When they stick to their team game and everybody's kind of pulling their weight, it's tough to beat this team.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And like you said, it makes it so interesting to watch. I mean, even on Monday night, I was nervous tuning into that game because I knew what Minnesota had done to the Stars earlier in the season. Obviously, a very talented, capable team themselves. But, the Stars showed, had one of their best outings. Not only did they score 7 goals, it was 7 different guys. And you had a shorthanded goal, a power play goal, an empty netter. I mean,
everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Scoring any way that they possibly could. And, only allowing 4, which, a lot of those goals that Minnesota scored were kind of on some weird type plays, but still, like you said, you never know what you're going to get. And it's weird to watch the Stars team compete against some of the best teams in the league and then struggle against, a team like Ottawa. That's been haunting me all season, knowing that, like 20% of Ottawa's wins are against the Stars. Yet the Stars have beaten Edmonton, Calgary, you name it, and even hung close with a team like Vegas, who's having a really nice year. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Built Bar. This holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, or even better than a candy bar. Built Bar is filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat, and high in protein. You get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. Built Bar gives you that extra fuel that you need to bust down those mall doors and battle those holiday shoppers. So maybe you're standing in shopping lines this Christmas Eve, scrambling to find some of those last-minute gifts for your family or your friends, but Built Bar can give you that extra push that you need to keep going. So throw one in your jacket or your purse or your pocket because you never know when you're going to need it. Do you like some of those marshmallow-filled treats around this holiday season? You need to get your hands on Built Bar Puffs. They're light, fluffy, and marshmallowy through and through. Different flavors, all covered in chocolate, taste so good that you won't believe that they're filled with protein. You can go to Built.com right now and use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Again, you can get 15% off your order by using the promo code LOCKED15 at Built.com. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is also brought to you by StatHero. No one plays daily fantasy sports to lose. Winning feels so much better. But traditional fantasy sports are a long-term losing proposition because you never know who or what you're up against. StatHero is the first of its kind in daily fantasy sports, a platform where it's you versus the house in head-to-head fantasy matchups. Winner take all. And here's the crazy part. StatHero shows you their lineups before you play, and you handpick the team that you want to face one-on-one. This never-before-seen innovation of a fantasy sports and sports betting hybrid has StatHero players clocking odds that are over 4 times better. Why? Because you don't have to compete against thousands of experts or unknowns. StatHero puts you in control of your fate. With StatHero, you are in control of the stakes. You decide how much you're going to play for, and StatHero has no choice but to take it, and because they are daring you to beat them. StatHero head-to-head is what daily fantasy should be, one-on-one. Sign up for free right now at stathero.com/hockey and use promo code hockey for a 100% deposit match. Again, that's stathero.com/hockey, promo code hockey for a 100% match.
Yeah.
But what do you think? We talk about them being a wild card team, and obviously playing in one of the most competitive divisions with, the top 6 teams really, really, making a claim to being one of the most talented, one of the best in the entire division. What do you think that the next step for the Stars is this season to kind of go from a mid-tier Central Division team to asserting themselves near the top? Do you think some like a veteran guy has to step up and kind of take charge? Or do you think that there's maybe a different route that needs to be taken for the Stars to kind of take that next step?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. And like the first word that comes to mind is consistency. Like you have to find that mode where even like during that 7-game win streak, it was every night you saw pretty much the same team. Like I think they only trailed at one point during that 7-game win streak, and it was against Columbus for like 8 minutes, and then they scored, and then they scored again, took the lead. And it's all about finding that consistency, because some nights you just watch them play and you're like, everything just looks a little like out of sync. Like this guy looks a little disjointed. This guy looks like a step too slow. Like you just kind of look around, you're like, something's not right about this team tonight. But then other nights, as we've seen, it's like everybody's clicking, everybody's firing. Like you said, 7 different goal scorers. I was doing the math this morning, and that's only, I think, the 3rd time that's happened in the last 15 seasons that the Stars have had 7 different goal scorers in a game. And so it's a really impressive number. But at the same time, it just goes to show that when this team is clicking, everything is working. But they have to find a way to click on a daily basis, on a game-by-game basis, all 4 lines, all 3 D pairs, the goaltending as well. And, I mean, it's consistency first and foremost in my mind, just finding a way to bring that same effort every single night. And they're capable of doing it because they've shown that they can. It's just a matter of making sure everybody's on the same page every night and getting after it. And, I mean, it's funny when you think about veteran guys stepping up. Joe Pavelski and Ryan Suter, I would say, are like 2 of their top 5, top 7 guys this season so far. I think Ryan Suter has really flown under the radar, but has been such a steady guy back there. And, that's what they signed him for. They signed him to make that quick outlet pass, to be calm under pressure, to log a lot of minutes. And he's done all of that in addition to putting up some pretty good offensive numbers. I think he's got like 15 points this season, 14 or 15, and a couple of goals. And so as of right now, like Suter's looked really good, and Pavelski, I mean, we could talk the rest of this podcast about Pavelski and then record another one as to what he's doing. Through his first 29 games of his many seasons in the NHL, I think it's up to 16 now, 16 seasons or 17 seasons in the league. His most points through the first 9 games were last year and this year. So his 2 best seasons through 29 games are both with the Stars, and they're at age 36 and age 37. That's unheard of. And it just goes to show you, like, he is here and he's making a difference. And he could go down easily as Jim Nill's best signing of his tenure with the Stars. So veterans are looking good. You would love to see all 4 lines start clicking a little more. I know we've talked about Robertson, Hintz, and Pavelski, those 3 guys doing the brunt of the damage. I think they'd scored 50% of the Stars' home goals going into Monday night. And that's a number that you're like, wow. Like, that just means they're such an effective top line. But at the same time, you're like, that also means those other 3 lines could use a couple more goals from them each game. So maybe a 4-line game and consistency are those 2 issues that you would really love to see resolved in order for this team to really get going and really get back into that top 3 race in the division.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you talk about veteran guys like Joe Pavelski. I think, it's going to go down in history, at least for the Stars, as one of the best, acquisitions for a team that, made immediate impact, and he's continuing to do so. And I know that people talk about all the time. Coach Bonas says that he's at practice one of the first people out on the ice working on his, his redirects in front of the goal, and working with Rupe and Jason, and getting to be better with them every day, which, don't know how they can get much better than, what they're already at.
I'd be scared if I see a different level from them. If I were an opposition and I see them go to another level,
I feel like it's only a matter of time before we see them score in like the first 15 seconds of a game, just to kind of, push the limits. Because I know that they have a knack for finding the net pretty quick.
Yeah, they've done it in the first 75 seconds for 4 straight games or whatever it was. So who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, truly, truly fun to watch. And, like you said, would love to see some of the other lines pick up a little bit of the grunt work there, which, maybe that Minnesota game was a sign that, we'll see that down the line. Tyler
Yeah.
Seguin kind of finding his footing again. Jamie Benn getting the empty netter, but still nice
Yep.
to see him get involved offensively.
And Gurionov having 2 assists there too with that line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dennis is a guy that I know myself and several other people had pretty high expectations for, and maybe he hasn't quite cracked up to those yet, but still, finding ways to be an effective guy and
Yeah.
still one of the fastest guys on the ice for the Stars and one of my favorite players to watch when he's in the zone because, like I said, just the speed. Not many guys can match that on the ice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, kind of talking about players on this team. Who has been your favorite player to watch, just as an individual? I know we've already thrown out some names, but do you have someone different that we haven't brought up yet that you really enjoy watching?
It's funny because there are actually a couple of names that I could throw out. I mean, this season, for a graphics guy, when they're winning 7 in a row, it's so much fun because you have so many things that you can be looking up. And I have a note spiral actually right here that I will keep at the beginning of every game or at the end of every game. I'll start taking notes for the next game. And when they were on that 7-game win streak, I was filling up the page right after the previous game ended. I need to look this up. When's the last time a player did this? When's the last time a rookie did this? And we've talked about Pavelski. I think what he's doing right now, it's unfortunate to hear that the NHL can't go to the Olympics or won't be going to the Olympics this year because Joe Pavelski would absolutely be a Team USA player this season. And at the age of 37, that's incredible to hear of. And on top of that, all the things that he's doing. 16 4-point games in the NHL, and 4 of them have come in the last 3 seasons with Dallas. And it's all these different accolades that he's pulling together. I would say he has to be team MVP at the moment because he's just such an effective player. And like we said, him, Robertson, and Hintz just complement each other so well. And I know Bonus talks about it ad nauseum in post-game pressers about Hintz's speed, Pavelski, just the veteran idea of always knowing where to be, always knowing the right spot on the ice. And then Robertson's just excellent craftiness, his vision of the ice. He can see everything, and it's they all just flow with each other so well. That line's been a ton of fun to watch. Obviously, Miro Heiskanen, especially through the first 15 games of the season, but even now, you could tell when he missed that game against St. Louis the other night, you could tell that he wasn't on the ice. And that's the thing. Sometimes the plays that he makes fly under the radar that you don't really notice them. And I mean, that's kind of a part of being a defenseman is that you're never really the flashiest guy on the ice. You're never really showing off your speed or your skills, but you could tell when he wasn't back there that things were a little bit disjointed. So he continues to just be such a steady force for this team on the back end. And honestly, I mean, Holtby and Ottinger, those two, I know the last few games been a little rusty for both of them, but those two guys were putting together a terrific run through that back half of November and the early part of December this month. And I really do think that those two can actually, help each other in a lot of ways, especially Holtby with a young Jake Ottinger, a guy that's been to the Cup, that's won the Cup, that's won the Vezina Trophy, that's led the league in wins, and that's done just about everything a goalie can do. And on top of that, the fastest player to, what were we at? 300 wins? Or I can't even remember what it was the other night. Yeah, I think 300 wins.
That sounds
I don't know.
right.
I've slept since then. But it's just been an impressive ride for every area of the Stars team so far. And, like we said, there's still growth to be had and things to be done that could help this team take the next step. But so far, I go back to Joe Pavelski. It's just been so much fun to watch this guy that at the start of the year, people talking about how old this team is and how, it's just they're one injury to a veteran away from not, being a contender and yada, yada. And then Joe Pavelski not only just proving all that wrong about age is, going to make us slower and worse, but on top of that, being one of the best players in the NHL right now and not only putting the puck in the net, but also dishing it out. He's just been a complete player this season. It's been so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I have to agree. And earlier this week, I even kind of deemed him as some midseason grades, one of probably the best scorer on the team. And I know he leads the team in points. And, even when he's not finding the back of the net with his shots, it's normally rebounding and someone else is there to pick up the pieces. And, get him an assist. And so really
Yeah.
nice to see that from him, and the goalies as well. Ottinger and Holtby. I think, it's nice that they've found some consistency there. And, sad to see Ben Bishop retire, and obviously Anton Hudobin not quite having the season we thought he would have, and or at least not that we wanted him to have, but still within the organization at the AHL level. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by BetOnline.ag. BetOnline has you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through college bowl season and the NFL playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available here in 2021. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all of your favorite sports. So don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts. And that kind of brings me to a random question that I have for you that just popped in my head that I've been asking some other guests on the show the past few weeks ever since the Bishop news did come out, just with his career in the NHL in general kind of coming into an end, but especially it ending with the Dallas Stars. What is your favorite memory of Ben Bishop as a Dallas Star, like a specific game that maybe stands out to you?
Oh man, there are actually a couple, which is, it's funny because like we said, he had 3 good seasons here, and I guess 2.5 if you cut the COVID year short, and then on top of that, it's been like 2 years since, like, when you look at half the time he's been with the Stars, he hasn't been on the active roster just about, and it's been kind of shocking to think about that and kind of process over the last few days and few weeks about him not being in the NHL anymore. Because, I really started following hockey in like 2009, 2010, like really heavily started following hockey. And, Ben Bishop is always in my mind been a top 5 goalie in the NHL. Like whoever he was with, wherever he was playing, he's always been that consistent force. I looked up his numbers right after he was recalled, and I think over the last 8 or 9 seasons, he was a top 5 goalie in wins, shutouts, save percentage, and a top 2 goalie in a couple of those categories. And, he had so many good memories with the Stars in general. And also on top of that, I just want to say, I know people have already probably said this a lot and written about it a lot, but he's such a good person too. Like he's such a genuine guy, always willing to, talk in the locker room. It's like, he's one of those guys that you just think he never has a bad day. Like he's always excited. He always seems really, joyful, peppy, like full of life. And so he was always such a great guy in the locker room. But I on the ice, I would say that probably my favorite memory was actually when he set the Stars shutout streak record back in the 18-19 season. And it was funny because I was on spring break at the time, and I was in Hawaii with my family, and I was watching that game in Minnesota on my phone on the ride to the airport. And I remember, like, they even had a bug down in the corner that had Bishop shutout streak, and it was a clock just counting, getting to Belfour's number, and you're just sitting there. Every shot that Minnesota takes, you're kind of I'm hoping that doesn't go in, because you just want to see that history. Because it was such a cool little stat also to see him take over. And once it hit that clock and you hear Josh Bogorod and Razor talking about it, it was a really surreal moment. And it really went on to another level, because from there on, he was just in another dimension for those next 2 months, like from mid-March through to early May, when they finally got knocked out in Game 7 against St. Louis. But even in that game, just the man standing on his head, putting together a playoff performance for the ages. I mean, 49-51, I'm pretty sure, is still the number. And just unbelievable to watch. And as a goaltender, at 6'7", he's a very rare type of goaltender, very rare breed for a goalie at that height and at that build. But just how effective he was in the net and how cool and calm he was. Like every game he was in, you knew when he was in the crease, you knew Stars are going to be okay. Like he's going to give them a chance to win tonight. They're not going to give up 5 goals. They're probably not even going to give up 3. they're going to give up one, maybe two, and have a really good chance to win this game if they can get that second or third goal.
Yeah, such a shame that that playoff run in 2019 had to end as soon as it did. Because I think if the Stars get past St. Louis, I mean, who
the what if game is so much fun to play with this team over the last decade. I'll tell you what.
Oh, absolutely. And that is definitely one at the very top of what if Dallas wins that game 7 or even the game 6. I believe that they had the 3-2 series lead.
They did. Game 6 at home.
Yeah, Ben Bishop with, like you said, one of the greatest playoff performances we've seen from a goalie, not just for the Stars, but in NHL history.
In the last few years, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. And so I think it's, so huge that, and like you said, wherever he's played, he's kind of left his impact. I know Tampa Bay is in, a really good place with their goalie. And the Stars have Braden Holtby, who's a veteran, but even Jake Ottinger, I'm sure that he's gained so much insight and experience from a guy like Ben, who's still with the organization now, just not suiting up. But I mean, so much to learn from a guy that's just been around the league as long as he has and been as dominant as he was for an extended time. But kind of shifting gears here to kind of close things out. A few Christmas type themed questions for you. I know that you said before we recorded that you're a big Christmas guy.
Let's hear it. I'm excited about these.
Yeah, the first one I have is definitely a little bit Stars related, and then after that we'll get to just some generic Christmas stuff. But if you were making a wish list for the Stars, what is one thing you would add to this team, whether that's a player or just maybe adding an ability to a certain player or maybe some of the lines? If you could pick one Christmas gift for the Dallas Stars for this season, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that is a really good question, actually. Oh man. I have one thing. It's funny, we were talking about this in the truck the other night. There's one thing that came to mind quickly, because I don't want to spend. I could probably sit here for 15 minutes and think through just everything, like do a deep dive and try and figure something out. But honestly, Alexander Radulov breaking that goal drought. That is the one thing that I would love to see, because we were talking about in the truck the other night about this is actually the longest stretch that he's gone in the NHL without scoring a goal. And so for him to get that next goal, I can only imagine. We know he's arguably, the most fiery celebration or celly guy in the league when he scores. To see him score that goal and break this drought, hopefully against Nashville, if not, then against Colorado, or whatever the case may be here in the next few days, it's going to be incredible. And I hopefully it gets him off that schneid and really gets him back into being a regular goal scorer, because he's done so many other good things. Like it stinks to see a guy, such a talented goal scorer, in a slump like this. But the good players are the guys that even when they know things aren't going their way in the goal column, they're still finding ways to be better and help the team out in other ways. He's been a great shot blocker. I think he leads Stars forwards, in block shots. Him and Fax are 1 and 2 up there. And then on top of that, he's been a really good passer of the puck, and he's got a couple assists to show for it too. But to see him break off that goal drought is going to be so sweet. So I'm going to say that's the Christmas wish here for this team.
Yeah, I like that one a lot, because I mean, you look at a guy like Rupe, who went through his own goal drought to start the year. Now we see where he's at. So hopefully we'll see Rads kind of go through a similar thing. And like you said, still a really effective player. I was talking about the other day that he's top 3 on this team in time on ice, and still putting out a lot of effort for this team. And some of my favorite assists from this season have been from Alexander Radulov. And so,
absolutely.
Like you said, the emotion is just unmatched with him on this team. And I know that the other guys on the team will certainly be excited to celebrate with him as soon as he finds the back of the net. And I don't remember this either. This isn't me quizzing, but do you remember what game he did score his lone goal in?
Vegas.
I know he
in October.
Vegas?
Yep. So the Vegas game in October,
it's been a while.
And his celebration, he had the like fist pumping, and like he had the coming up off one knee, and like just absolutely pure joy and exuberation. So we may have to like pause the game. It may be like Beltre's like 3,000th hit. It may be like we have to like pause the game and let everybody like come celebrate with him and take like a 10-minute break.
Just hang a banner up in the rafters for the rest of the season.
Exactly. Like
commemorating that
broke
moment.
goal drought. Yep. And then like have a party there for like 30 minutes.
Hey, I'm down for that, because that Vegas game was a long time ago. And I know he had the game winner in Pittsburgh as well, but that was a shootout.
Yeah.
So doesn't
his
quite
lone
count as a
goal,
goal.
Vegas on October 27.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
hopefully the Christmas, maybe that's, what'll be under his Christmas tree, just like a pass from Santa that says, "Hey, you feel free to score a goal. It's on me."
break it. Yep, against Nashville. It's on the big guy. Yep.
Oh yeah, we'd love to see that. Well,
Yeah.
another Christmas question for you that's just more generic, and I know this is something I've
Yeah.
talked about on yesterday's show, but if you had to, if you're picking the Christmas movie for your family, friends, whoever's together, what is your go-to Christmas movie, Josh?
Whew. All right. So it's funny because the last 2 days I've watched like 4 different ones, and I always have my group of like 10 movies that I watch every year. It's got to be National Lampoons. It has to be Christmas Vacation. Like I watch that movie religiously every year at Christmas time, probably at least 3 or 4 times a year. And even to the point where 2 years ago at Halloween, I went as Cousin Eddie, like white bathrobe, winter cap on, like
Oh yeah.
this white suit belt, my whatever your Sperry's or whatever I was wearing, just a great outfit. I won best costume at the party I was at, so that just further cements that Christmas Vacation is number one. That is my go-to movie to quote, to watch, to just anything Christmas related. I have a tie-in for Christmas Vacation, and that is definitely got to be number one at the top of the list.
Yeah, certainly a great choice, and I think a testament to how iconic that movie is that you won a
Oh
Halloween
my gosh.
costume contest as a
Yeah.
character from that movie.
At Halloween, I'm dressing as Christmas, and look, guess what? I'm still gonna win.
Yeah, 2 months in advance,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
rise above the rest. Kind of in
Yeah.
the same vein, let's say that someone hands you the aux cord saying to play Christmas music. What's a go-to Christmas song, or if song's too hard, give me an album at least.
Okay, now first, what's our setting? If somebody's handing me the aux cord, are we like in the car? Or are we like at a party? Like, what are we thinking?
Let's
here?
say Christmas party. There's like
Okay.
a good amount of people, just like a Christmas house party.
If we're at a Christmas party, all right. So if we're at a party, because if I'm like unwinding and it's like sitting by the fire or something at night, toward in the Christmas season, it's got to be White Christmas or the Christmas Song by Bing Crosby or Nat King Cole. Got to stick with the classics. But if somebody's handing me the aux cord, it's probably got to be like, it's got to be something upbeat, obviously. Maybe Sleigh Ride by the Ronettes. Like that's definitely a banger, as the kids say. I definitely think, and there's actually some dubstep remixes of that too that I've heard in the recent past, and I'm like, all right, yeah, that could get me like going. That could get me up. So probably Sleigh Ride by. That's the first thing that comes to mind if I'm like at a party and I'm trying to get people going. That's one that you got the beat, you got the fast tempo, you got the catchy lyrics, you can sing along to it. I'm gonna have to go Sleigh Ride.
Hey, that's never a bad option, and of course,
Yeah.
like you said, the dubstep remixes always get the people going just a little bit more.
Absolutely, yes.
Definitely love to see that. And then the last one I have for you: what is, in your eyes, the quintessential Christmas food? Whether it's a dessert, a meal, a snack, what's kind of the go-to Christmas food item for you?
Ooh, okay. So in terms of drink, and I am 21, I promise. A lot of people joke that they think I'm like 20. They think that I'm like 18. I'm like, no, I'm 24. I promise. I don't want to be 24, but I'm 24. Eggnog, and it's funny because I will tell people, like, if you've never tried eggnog, you have to try it, because I love eggnog, and I even have, back to the National Lampoons here, I even have the like reindeer mug. I even bought one of those, so I'll drink out of that whenever I'm having eggnog. Eggnog is definitely number one on the drink list. On the food list, it's hard to beat, like a big like smoked ham at Christmas, like at Christmas dinner. That is a go-to. And also my family and I, we always make this big breakfast casserole every Christmas morning, and it never fails to hit the spot. And so I'm gonna have to say kind of a combination of those. Like you got your casserole for the morning, you got your smoked ham, at night for Christmas dinner, and then you have your eggnog, like when you're winding down, sitting by the fire or whatever, or watching a movie, plugging in the aux cord, whatever you're doing. Those are definitely like three of my go-tos, at least off the top of my head. And Thanksgiving, I'd probably have a list like 10 times as long. But Christmas, Christmas has its own really nice little nuggets of just absolutely amazing food and drinks.
Yeah, it really does. And I feel like Christmas and Thanksgiving are almost like the only time you hear people talk about like ham as like
Honestly, yeah.
a main dish.
Yeah.
Like
No, you're not lying. Yeah.
like January through October, it's like no one's eating ham
Like,
unless it's on a
what is it?
sandwich.
It's
But
like
then
turkey. It's like turkey or like whatever. Yeah, you're eating during, or we eat burgers and hot dogs from January to October, and then we'll switch over to ham in November.
yeah, it's like 4th of July just has like a monopoly on like the other months of the
Oh
year
my
somehow.
gosh.
But,
Oh,
not bad food, but yeah, it's odd that, those foods are like specifically for the end of the year for those
yep.
holidays. But,
I couldn't agree
we
more.
don't make the rules here, but we
Hey,
enjoy them. We
just
enjoy
follow
those
'em.
foods when they come around.
Yeah, just follow along. With eggnog, I'm always like waiting until it drops in like late October. Then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go buy my like 3 or 4 bottles to get me through the season, and then we're good.
Yeah, that's the exact same way I am with the Bluebell like peppermint ice cream. So good,
Oh my
but it only
gosh.
comes out this time of year.
Okay, and I forgot also Christmas cookie bluebell ice cream is
Yes.
is an absolute go-to. One of my good friends, Sean Nicewing, who works for Dude Perfect, he and I will text each other about, like Christmas cookies coming out like in 3 days. Be ready, like be ready to go to Walmart or whatever and go get it. Yeah, and that's a go-to also.
Yeah, Bluebell just knows what they're doing all the time. So we
Always, they
lo-
understand the assignment, Dane.
yeah, as
Yeah.
the kids say, they understand the assignment.
Yes, they
Well,
see. We've got all these kids references in tonight. It's great.
yeah, Locked On Stars is for the young and the old. We don't
It's
discriminate here.
for the kids. Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're for all ages. But Josh, I appreciate you coming on the show. Always appreciate your insight and just your personality here. Hope you have a great Christmas, and we'll hopefully see you back on the show sometime soon.
Dane, I can't thank you enough. It's always fun to come back on here because the only way I can talk about Stars is through Twitter or through graphics on TV on broadcast. So this is definitely, it's great to be back on here and also to not have Kenneth nagging for 30 minutes. If he watches this, I hope he hears this, and then I'll get a text from him. So regardless, though, thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you, Dane, and everyone else. And I'm always around to be on.
Yeah, that sounds good. Hopefully, as the season goes on, we'll have some more exciting Stars stuff to talk about, and we'll certainly look to bring you, and maybe we'll get you and Kenneth back on at the same time, and
Hey, you know
we
what?
can just make it a party.
I would love that. Oh, wow. We may go all night at that point. But yeah, definitely sounds like a good time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, thanks again, Josh. And Stars fans, we will see you back here on Monday to preview Dallas's game against the Nashville Predators. A big division game, and maybe we'll see Alexander Radulov get back in the score column. Well, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed that great conversation that I got to have with Josh Clark. Always fun to have guests on the show, especially a guy as personable as Josh. Always such a fun spirit. Great insight from him as well, both on the Stars and just on all things Christmas. Big Christmas guy, Josh Clark is. But thank you guys again for making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. Now go make your second listen of the day, the Locked On Bets podcast with your boy Q and insight from Lee Sterling, your daily one-stop shop for all of your gambling needs. You can find the Locked On Bets podcast for free wherever you get your podcasts at. Be sure to also subscribe and follow the Locked On Stars podcast wherever you get your podcast at. Just consider it a little Christmas gift to me. Just hitting that subscribe or download button wherever you listen to your podcast at, and maybe leaving a review if you enjoy what you hear would truly mean a lot and cost you absolutely nothing. But be sure to also follow me on Twitter if you feel so inclined at Dane_Lewis. That's at DANE 2_LEWIS. You can also find the show on Twitter at Locked On Stars. Thank you guys again so much for listening. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Hope you enjoy your time with your family, your friends, and just enjoy the holiday. And we will see you guys back here on Monday for a preview of the Dallas Stars and Nashville Predators matchup. Have a great day, Stars fans. Have a great Christmas.